Hi there, welcome to the video, and welcome back if you're a return viewer. You're watching the Crash X Review of Books, and I'm Kerry. Today, the debut novel from a comedian who became famous worldwide, well perhaps in some parts of the world, in the 1990s. That man is Bob Mortimer. Now, he and his partner in crime, Vic Reeves, aka Jim Moyer, got kind of prominence in the 90s with shows like The Smell of Reeves and Mortimer, Shooting Stars, and so on. And they became immensely popular in the Commonwealth countries at least. And then they kind of disappeared for a while. And lately, Bob Mortimer has had a bit of a renaissance. He guests on many panel shows, and his most popular current incarnation is on as a co-host of Mortimer and Whitehouse Gone Fishing, a BBC program, a kind of gentle reality program where basically two 50-something men get together to go fishing around the United Kingdom, and there's gorgeous footage of the rivers and lakes and fields and farms and what have you. And as they're fishing, they talk about life, health issues, and what they're going to have for lunch. It's a great show. I really enjoy it. Well, usually try and get hold of a copy of it as soon as it's broadcast and watch it with a friend, and we get a lot out of it. It's kind of gentle humour, gentle look at issues which otherwise men may not actually want to talk about to each other. And Bob Mortimer himself has faced some serious health issues in recent years. I think he's got a heart defect or a heart problem or something, and he almost died. And that's kind of made him very introspective and reflective. And as part of this, he has become an author. A couple of years ago, he put out a autobiography, memoir type book called And Away, which is a phrase from the Gone Fishing program. And last year, he came out with this book, The Satsuma Complex, his first novel. Now, I was expecting something light, fluffy type, forgettable type book, but I was pleasantly surprised with this one. It does start with a sort of cliche setup, but it kind of gets deeper and darker as things goes on. Now, the basic story is it follows the life of Gary, who's I think he's 30-something in the book, a legal assistant whose lot in life doesn't look good. He lives in a kind of rundown flat, doesn't really enjoy his job, and doesn't have a lot of friends, and hasn't had a lot of luck with women in his life. He befriends an older female neighbour called Grace, and she has a dog called Lasso, and in his interactions with Grace and Lasso, we find out a lot about Gary's past and present and his attitudes towards things. He's kind of facing a crisis in his life where he doesn't think there's much going on for him and there's much to look forward to. And one day a work acquaintance invites him to the pub for a meet-up. This fellow called Brendan, who works for our local private investigation company. Brendan suddenly leaves in a hurry, and Gary meets up with a girl in the pub, and the girl is reading The Satsuma Complex. And he makes friends with her, they seem to hit it off. He really enjoys himself talking to her. Then he has to go to the toilet or something, and when he comes back, she's left and just left the book. He doesn't even know her name. And then later it transpires that he's told that Brendan has been found dead, and basically his only alibi in case he's suspected of murder is the girl, and he doesn't know her name. He basically calls her Satsuma until he does. Now, I thought this was going to be the central mystery of the book. I thought it was going to get strung out for the entire thing until we finally learn about the woman, but it kind of subverted my expectations because the mystery of the woman is kind of resolved a couple of chapters later, and then Gary kind of dives into a kind of a hair-raising adventure involving angry boyfriends, corrupt police, dodgy investigators, and all sorts of things. And being Bob Mortimer, he can't resist putting his impish sense of humour into the book. So there's not that many straight-out jokes, but there's a lot of really fun banter between characters, between Gary and the local coffee shop owner, between Gary and various people he meets on the street and gets involved with. And there's also a device in the book where Gary, when he's unsure of some decision or something that's just happened to him. He seems to imagine a conversation between him and a talking squirrel, and sometimes the talking squirrel gets the better of him and kind of castigates him for being a wimp or a loser or what have you. Sounds a bit weird talking about it now, but it really works in the novel. There's a lot of really weird humour in some parts. It gets a little surreal, a little absurdist, just like Mortimer's comedy, really. But on the other hand, it does delve into some quite deep and dark things. I think he's trying to say something about the internal life of people that otherwise look ordinary or don't seem very extraordinary to others. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, a lot of doubt and fears and despair. And he's trying to say something about that through Gary and the people he meets. The women he meets have messed up lives and things in their past that they can't escape. And Gary kind of does too. And there's a lot of that type of thing going on, which is kind of submerges and then sinks back down into the silliness and comes up again. And I think you should applaud him for trying to add some kind of added depth and message to the book. It's a fast read. I read that in about 2 sittings. It's only 280 odd pages long, or maybe 290. You race through it. There's a lot of the banter and the gags and well, the character stuff kind of drives it along at a rapid clip, and you enjoy it while you're reading it. It's a great effort for a first novel. I hear he's working on a second one, which involves a whole new set of characters. He doesn't want to write another book about Gary. I think Gary really is autobiographical, and he's been there and he's spilled his heart out about Gary and his internal feelings, and he wants to do something new. And I also learned today that this book is being published for the US market under a different title, the Clementine Complex. So if you see that, it's the same book. For some reason, Satsuma's doesn't have the same connotations as it does in the UK market, I suppose. Satsuma's being a small citrus fruit like a mandarin or a tangerine. It's kind of a comical type of thing to say in the UK. It's kind of like, it used to be this tradition that you got a Satsuma for Christmas in your Christmas stocking, that type of thing. I guess Clementine has a different connotation, a different meaning for people in the US market. So I enjoyed it. It's fun, but it does have a little thought in it about internal feelings of people and what's really going behind the facade that you see. So that is The Satsuma Complex by Bob Mortimer. Okay, thank you, and have a good evening, have a good day, have a good afternoon. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.